What is up, my people? We're really onto something. Today I'm just sitting around. Got some more dividends that came in because I was talking about finances and investing and stuff like that. And I just feel like I've really just created a money making machine. Now I'm not out the rat race yet. I still work. I still do other things. But to think that I had only started this journey 4 years ago in 2020. I look at how at that time the income I was making for my employer put my family at the poverty line. It was a career change, which took a reduction in pay and literally, felt like we were starting from the bottom on our way back up. And having implemented what I learned, the knowledge and application of it, it's really paid off and things are working in a positive way. I mean, I look at how I was able to get access to funds through side hustles, through working. We'd put some aside. If we got a tax return, we put it in. If we got a bonus or some increase in work, put it in. Whatever happens, put it into investing. That was my mantra. That was my goal. That was what I did. Every time something extra came in, I was looking at investing it and how much more it would add to the cash flow that was coming in. And then I've now come across opportunities where I can leverage what I've put in to have access to more funds. And if I use those funds to then put back into purchasing more dividend paying shares of funds, then I'm able to drastically increase the amount that's there. And the interest, I'm gonna talk some real numbers. So, all right, so last year we had a catastrophic event at our house, a water leak. That was a whole hot mess, going through insurance and all that. But anyways, through that process, insurance basically pays you portions at a time when you have a leak or claim. And so I needed my contractor to finish doing the work a little bit faster. So I needed to pay him to do that because if he ordered like the cabinets and countertops and stuff like that we needed for our house, he's like, dude, I measured that. That's the exact format for your home. If I order that product and go get it from a wholesaler, I can't take it and use it at someone else's house because it fits your house. So he's like, I can do labor, I can do demo, I can do everything for you except put in the new product until you pay for the new product. And he's like, even if all you need to do is give me the money for the product, he's like, I'll come install it and put everything in and you can pay me after I get it all in for the rest of the money for the labor. But it's like, I at least need the money up front to buy the product at my cost because we had already negotiated the total cost of the job. So anyways, I took out a equity line of credit to do that. And at the time, I only took out the amount of money I would need to finish doing the fix. As I learned more about the investing journey and the leveraging of funds, I decided to take out the remaining funds that I had available in equity in my home and then put a lot of that towards investing. Robinhood, for example, is a brokerage I use. They allow using margin, they call it, where they sort of give you money based on what you have in there. So when I threw that chunk of money in, I basically was able to access double or more that amount of money. Because on margin, they typically give you like 1 to 4 times what you have in there to leverage against in more investments, right? So for round numbers, if you had 100K you'd put in investing, you pretty much have access to 400K. Now, the benefit I think of margin is they don't check your credit. It doesn't go against your credit score. It doesn't show up on any things that you have the debt. And it's interest only payments. So whatever amount you use, they only charge interest. And right now, Robinhood has the most competitive, lowest rates of every brokerage I've seen out there. Their rates are like 6.5%, which is below the prime interest rate currently. And it's also just lower than other brokerages. I looked at Schwab and TD Ameritrade and Fidelity and E-Trade and all these other ones, and they're charging 10, 12, 14% for margin. Now, if you take out a large amount, they will negotiate the rates down a little bit lower, but you're going to get close to the prime, and that's about it. So anyways, that's a whole nother story to talk about why I decided to use Robinhood's margin. But either way, if you look at the percentage of interest that I have to pay on the funds, and how much more I can get in dividends, I can't do the math exactly for you, but let's say I was making another $2,000 in dividends from investing the other money, right, per month. And then the interest on how much I had to put in and borrowed in leverage from margin in order to purchase that costs me an interest. Oh, actually, you know what? I remember my interest number. So my interest on how much I leverage on margin is about 580. It was 587 last month. So let's say 600 per month is the interest. And then, and I think that's like at 6.5%. And then I have the home equity line is the payment for that is about 600 a month. Yeah, I want to say it's about 600 a month. So that's about 1,200 if you add those two together. The only other thing that I use the dividends for consistently to pay for is our other vehicle. My wife's vehicle is it was on its way out last year, so we got rid of it and got another vehicle. Wanted to get something we wouldn't have to keep putting maintenance and money into, so we took out a loan for that car, and I used the dividends to make the payment. Because the other flex is I was able to get the car with zero down, and a longer term on paying the car to make the payment monthly a little bit lower. Well, the reason I did that is because if I put money down or put a large chunk to pay for the car all at once, that's just money out of my hand, and then I have a car which is a depreciating asset. If I took that same money I would have put as a down payment, instead of purchasing the car or the amount I would have purchased the car for, put that all into the market and created cash flow off of it, that cash flow could make the car payment and pay extra. So that's what I did. And so the car payment is about like less than $650 a month. So if you were to add all three of those, you're looking at what I said, 1,200 before, 6 and 6, and then let's say 650. So let's say 1,850. So less than $2,000 per month to pay each of those. But then if you look at what I'm projecting and what's been coming in dividends, it's just been growing exponentially every month. Back in January, February, it was like $2,000, 2,700. Around March, it was almost 5K. It was like 4,953. And then in April, it was 7,000. In May, it was 8,000. And now in June, it's gonna be close to 10,000, maybe 9,500 or so. I don't know. We'll see by the end of the month, and when the statement comes out, I'll see. Because I said in the past I was gonna do market updates to talk about how cash flow was growing, and then honestly, I just felt a little hesitant to putting out real numbers. But as I've tried to explain the concepts to people, you don't really get it until you start doing it. It's like if I try to teach you how to ride a bike, but I gave you all the instructions for riding a bike, when you get on a bike and try to ride it, you're going to fall over because you don't have the muscle memory. Like, you don't know how to actually make the movements, the balance, the coordination, what you need to ride a bike. When you start riding it and I'm holding onto the back of the seat, you're going to be able to ride the bike. And in time, you're not going to need me to hold on to the back of the seat. You're going to be like, Josh, let go of my booty. Let me ride on my own. You know what I'm saying? So that's sort of why I feel like I just need to share real numbers, because if I don't, it's hard to get the concept. But so for example, if this month I'm projected, let's just say for round math, 10K is going to come in dividends. If the interest for the borrowed money, the car payment, and the home equity line, the three of them add up to less than $2,000, I'm going to have 8K left over. And with the 8 left over, I can use that to reinvest into the market, or I can put larger payments on the car or on the HELOC to get it paid down even faster. Now, the other component that people are asking me about is using margin. It's like, well, what if you get a margin call? What if you, you have to pay back what you borrowed from the brokerage? Yeah, I'm doing a video real quick.
Can I show you something?
Yeah, I'll come there in a few minutes. So I said, like, what if I were to, I lost my train of thought. I can put larger amounts towards the debts, right? So if I put larger amounts towards them, then they're going to get knocked out even faster. Now, people ask about margin. They said, what if you get a margin call? That's what I was going to say. So margin call basically is saying that, you have to maintain an account minimum when you leverage and borrow against what you have invested in your brokerage account. So when you do that, you have, let's say your maintenance requirement was 50% on all of the stocks or funds you were buying. And every one that you click on, it'll show you what the maintenance requirement is before you purchase it. But let's just say for easy math examples, it was 50%. Let's say you had, for easy math again, $100,000 that you had in your brokerage account available, right? Maybe you had only put in 50, but because of margin, you had access to 100. And so now you've invested all that. You purchased $100,000 worth of funds or stocks or whatever. At that point, if your maintenance is like 50%, then if your account value drops down to 50K, then you're gonna owe back whatever is below 50 if it dropped that much, right? So like if it dropped to 40, you're gonna owe about $10,000 back. Now, I'm not doing the exact math of this. I'm estimating to make you understand the picture. But basically, for what I have and what I've used and leveraged, I would have to have a market correction of more than 50% in order to have a margin call and have to put back whatever's below that maintenance number. So let's say my maintenance number in this example is 50,000. If my account drops down to 49,000, the brokerage is going to say, hey, you're past your minimum maintenance. You need to put $1,000 in your brokerage to get back to that maintenance number, because that's your minimum number you have to be at for us to allow you to borrow these funds. Now, the two ways they can handle that are you can take money and put it in your account. If you have $1,000, you can do that. If you don't have it, then you can sell shares of the stocks and funds that you own $1,000 worth. And then when you get that $1,000 cash, it goes to the brokerage, and then you're back at that maintenance requirement minimum. So it's sort of, in my opinion, if you're using it for options or other things like that, yes, it can be more risky. If you're using it for cash flow, then there could be some months where you say, hey, to increase my margin buffer from getting down to that maintenance requirement, some months, in this example, if I have 10K coming in, 2 goes towards bills, the other 8 I can pay more bills with. I might say, well, how about I only take 7? And every month I let another grand sit in there to start paying down the margin so that it's closer to it's further and further away from having a margin call to happen. So, I mean, there's ways to make it happen. The other thing I think of is this. After the debts are paid, right? The car, the home equity line, once those are paid down, if I wanted to tap the equity line again, I could just write a check for the total amount of the equity line, put all that in the brokerage account, margin it again to an even higher dollar amount, and then have double or triple the cash flow that's coming in now, right? So like if now it's at 10, in a couple of years, that could be at 20 or 30 or 40 or 50. And I mean, the math of that is astronomical. It's really blowing my mind. If something crazy happens in the world that I don't predict, like COVID or something like that, or some other world calamity, it could change things. There's risks of things that could happen. But this is something that I don't suggest people to do unless you have some other things in place. I still work. I still have retirement going. I still have benefits for my family. We're still secured. We have life insurance. We have other things in place to secure ourselves. So hopefully when calamity does strike, because life will always life you, we can get through those storms. But, if you have some things set and you decide you're going to take a risk and try something, when I look at this concept, the math of it is really mathing for me. And so far it's been working. And I've done this within 4 years because I started investing in general in 2020. I didn't learn about the high yield funds until 2022, 2023. And during that time, I was working on trying to learn how to trade options. I traded options for 2 years. That's a whole nother story. But the first year I broke even. The second year I made about 50% gains. And I was just an amateur guy trying to learn how to trade. I did actually learn how to trade. I took some courses. I read some books, listened to some books and on like audio books and stuff. And I played in the market and practiced. And when I charted and took my time, I could make money. And there is a lot of money that can be made in options. It's something that's heavily researched and known. Options make money. It's just, if I was going to sit and do options every day, I'd be sitting down looking at charts every day, planning out charts, planning out my moves, and then doing it. So it would turn into another job. And I want to free up my time. That's my purpose of wanting to do what I'm doing with cash flow, because I want to help show other families and other people how they can increase their cash flow to help solidify their family better. My wife and I volunteer and do some premarital counseling for couples. And if you look at the research of marriages and divorces and stuff like that, they say like 50% of divorces, that's a divorce rate, right? So around 50%, 51%, somewhere around there. But the other concept with that is the number one problem and reason for divorces is usually money fights. I mean, it's like money, there's like family stuff, there's infidelity, there's other things that happen. But if you look at the top reasons that are listed, it usually goes for finances. So a lot of families could really be solidified if they work on having a budget, living within their means, eradicating their debts, doing some things wisely, and it will really open the door for them to have a lower likelihood of failures in their families, in their marriages, in their relationships, and other things. Because money is not a be all end all, it's just a tool. When you use tools well, they benefit you well. When you misuse and abuse tools, then they usually wind up, you can get hurt. I mean, you can use a butter knife as a screwdriver, but if you slip, you could cut your finger with a butter knife, and that's going to be a gnarly cut. So, like, it's just a tool. Anyways, I felt like sharing a little bit of this. But yeah, I plan on sharing a little bit more. If you like the information, then watch it. If you don't, I guess you would have stopped by now anyway. But yeah, stick around. There'll be some more. If you want to like or follow or whatever, then, you'll see more of the journey, get notified when I'm putting up more info. Either way, peace. Have a good night.